Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go. Woo!
He's back. The sports dad, Judd Zulgad, is back. Yes.
Wearing the swag.
Rocking your Before I Die hoodie today, which you can find at scorenorth.com/shop. That's scorenorth.com/shop for all your Before I Die, for all your Wolves-related Flagrant Howls merch. But it's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
And in the mix here for, usually it's Judd's camp notes, but you've been with family the last few days. So we're going to just go camp notes from the internet. Camp notes from trusted sources that were at practice.
From the many reliable guys on and gals on the beat. I like it.
Yes. So we'll do that today. We've got a bunch of different interesting things that are kind of intertwined throughout this list of camp notes. But first, let's tell the audience about our friends over at Quick Trip, Judd.
Absolutely, because you know what? Now, when you think of Quick Trip, you might think of a convenience store, but don't do that. Think of it as your one-stop shopping. It's convenience, but it's a grocery store as well. Quality gas guarantee. And you pull up and you get the gasoline, and now you're like, you know what, though? I need something to eat for dinner. Well, guess what? You're looking right there at an array of lunches and dinners and heck, breakfast as well. Quick Trip has everything that you could possibly want. Yes, it's convenient. Yes, if you want a snack, that's fine too. But don't forget, Quick Trip, unlike so many other stores, offers you convenience. It offers you friendly service. It offers you everything that you could possibly want. So check them out at Quick Trip.
Amen. Okay, let's start with this one here. This actually broke while we were recording. Write that down yesterday. Dex and I touched on it just sort of briefly, but okay. Dalton Risner is back on a one-year contract. As of the recording of this Purple Daily, we don't know what the exact figures are. Doogie was reporting on the scoop that it sounds like it's going to be very incentive-laden, so if he plays a certain amount of snaps or games or whatever it may be, he gets to make more money. Your thoughts on the Vikings bringing back Dalton Risner for another go-round here? He sat on the market for a long time again, not quite as long as last year, but he's back in purple.
I actually like this a lot because to me, it gives you a quality known commodity at left guard. And I'm not saying that Dalton is a Pro Bowl player, but I do think that he showed that he's a stable player. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He gives the line and the interior of the line in particular, along with Bradbury now, a veteran presence. It also, as we discussed on the scoop with Doogie, Phil, it gives you the opportunity with Blake Brandel to try him potentially at right guard. He can play tackles. So he becomes a really valuable swing guy. And guys get hurt. There's no question that Brandel will play. So I like this a lot. And my only thought is, I wonder if the Vikings sort of knew from Dalton being on the market into the season last year that, and I don't know why, but that there weren't going to be a lot of teams pursuing him. And as Doogie put it, they got him back on their terms. But just as far as depth, quality depth, and a veteran presence, I think this is a very solid move.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Blake Brandel was given not quite like full-on starting caliber guard money, but it was more money than you would pay just a straight-up backup guard in free agency. And so it kind of looked like, based on everything that we were gleaning and the conversations, and it looked like he was going to be your starting left guard, but Risner's been sitting out there the entire time. Risner, 5 years in the NFL, 4,518 snaps, all of them at left guard. So he's literally never played a snap anywhere other than left guard in his 5-year NFL career. Ed Ingram, exclusively right guard in the NFL. And then Blake Brandel, 5 years in the NFL, 2 years as a practice squad type guy, and then 3 as kind of a swing backup. He's actually played left tackle, right guard, none at left guard, but he's able to move all over the place. I think it's going to be Risner as your starting left guard, Ingram as your starting right guard. But both of those guys are on watch for the first month of the season because Ingram got better last year, but he's not like a top half of the league starting guard. If you look at PFF, eye test, the pressures allowed. So does he take a step forward and solidify himself at right guard? If he doesn't, Blake Brandel can slide in. Risner, If it doesn't click the way that they hoped, boom, Blake Brandel can slide in. So they have some depth. I don't know that they have any ironclad solutions that you feel great about at left or right guard, but you've got large bodies in a room. So I was going through PFF too, just to see where these guys rank in various categories. So among 83 qualified guards last year, in pass protection, Risner was 22nd out of 83 in pass protection grade. They really like him as a pass protector. Ingram was actually 37th out of 83. So he was just kind of, as a pass protector, top half of the league. And then run blocking, Ingram was kind of league average as a run blocker. And then Risner is bottom half of the league, kind of like at the 2/3 mark on that list. So both those guys are just trying to prove that they are top half of the league guards, and then Brandel comes in ready to step in for either one of them if one of them falters. That's my read on the situation.
So do we think that the Risner thing of him spending the past 2 years sitting on the market is the run blocking deficiency? Like there's something weird here because guards get paid now. We've seen it. Like guard and yes, it's top end guards, but Dalton's played for a long time at this point. I wonder if the run blocking is what causes him just to sort of sit there, because it is odd. It's odd with a starting caliber player. Like I get it, aging guys who were starters sometimes can sit until June. The Risner thing, 2 consecutive years feels weird because he is still a starting caliber player. The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head as far as the problem is if teams are like, the run blocking is so poor that we don't trust him or want to pay him for that.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, he fired his agent and then hired Drew Rosenhaus because I'm assuming he felt like he deserved more than the offers that were coming in.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a gap between what the league thinks of Dalton Risner and what Dalton Risner thinks of Dalton Risner.
Clearly.
Or he would have been on a roster much earlier these last 2 seasons. But he's back. My favorite thing about him is he's always the first guy at the end of the play. He's the first lineman down the field on a big 15, 20, 30-yard play, running down there to help up his wide receiver or his running back, sometimes doing a ninja kick at the end.
Ninja kick to me, that was one of the most bizarre things I thought, like small, bizarre things. Like the fact that he runs down to help guys is great, but the ninja kick, I never quite could figure out where that came from.
In fact, his "I'm back" video that he posted on social yesterday was like skull, and it was just a video of him running down, plowing into the pile, and then doing a ninja kick after he shoves everybody over.
I just don't get it.
So Dalton Risner is back. Okay, note number 2. The new quarterbacks coach, at least one of them, Josh McCown, spoke to reporters for about 10 minutes yesterday.
First time, I believe, as well. I don't think he has spoken until he went to the podium on Wednesday.
Yeah, and he's very good at the podium, just as he was as a starting quarterback for chunks of his career. So a few different things. He was asked what stood out about JJ McCarthy in the pre-draft process. And he noted that McCarthy's pro day was excellent. And then off of that, they did a private workout where it was just the Vikings and their coaches and some scouts working with JJ McCarthy. And about that private workout, Josh McCown said, quote, "You can tell he's been very well coached, and his retention on the plays we gave him was spot on, A+ in that regard in the classroom." And then he added some more stuff about his classroom work. He raved about just the retention, the work behind the scenes, and his personality, saying intellectually and emotionally, he did a great job just connecting with the coaching staff. And he said, in those settings where you're putting a guy through the ringer, it's a private workout, and they're dumping a bunch of stuff on your plate, and there's an NFL head coach and an NFL offensive coordinator, and there's Josh McCown, who's been an NFL quarterback for 2 decades, and all these scouts and front office people. And it can be a little intimidating for a lot of college kids that they kind of shrink in those moments. And he said JJ hung in that room from a personality standpoint. Now you got to spin it on the field.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting, just him raving about the retention, the personality, and everything behind the scenes.
So I think what's intriguing about this entire process too, from the O'Connell-McCown standpoint is this. Now O'Connell is clearly going to spend a ton of time with McCarthy, but as the head coach, you also have to coach the entire team. Like your attention, unfortunately, can't go to one place. It can go a lot there, but not entirely there. Don't you have the feeling like McCown is going to be the primary conduit? Like O'Connell has found a thinking guy. And there's no question O'Connell's going to want McCarthy taught what he wants taught. Like, I don't think there's going to be room for, hey, I tweaked this. Hey, Kevin, I tweaked this with JJ today. Well, no, I tweaked this, right? I think this is all going to be very much on point of everyone needs to be on the same page. And I do think that McCown is going to be, for lack of a better term, like the personal caddy here. Like, I think he's going to relay exactly what O'Connell wants, not because he's told to, but if you look at them, I'm sure that KOC and Josh have similarities. Now, Josh had a lot longer and more successful career, but when you're looking at the thought processes, my guess is you're looking at two guys who are very, very similar. So I remain, as I told Dukes, Phil, I remain really, really intrigued by this process because with Kirk, I think it was O'Connell worked with Kirk, and then they sort of had a quarterbacks coach who would help out, but Kirk was a veteran, right? Like I find this part of the process encouraging, first of all, because I think it's really, really smart, but I also find it really, really interesting how they're going to develop this kid. And I think that the McCown hire, like in some ways, I think you damn near could have called him, if you really broke things down truthfully, the JJ McCarthy coach.
Yeah, and he was, I think, originally hired to be the Drake May coach. Because what's interesting is
you might be right.
The work that he did with Sam Darnold, as he talked about that too with Sam Darnold. He said, yeah, my year with him in New York was, I went into that year thinking and expecting it to be the last year of my career. And so I went out and I just dumped everything that I could from my brain into his, just to try and help him as he starts his career. And then it turned out he came back and played like another year at the end, somewhere in there. But he worked with Sam Darnold and he worked with Drake May and was it high school, right?
Yep.
We talked about that during the pre-def process.
He helped coach him in high school.
But obviously he's now working with JJ McCarthy. He was also asked about, hey, how do you balance JJ McCarthy's learning process with also the fact that the defense is over there trying to do their thing? And he said, yeah, that's real. That's what it feels like in season, where you've got a defense that's very multiple, as you would call it.
Football.
Different looks. But they're trying to do regimented things to get JJ McCarthy comfortable running this offense. But they also have to build in time for the defense to do their thing. And it's one of the hardest defenses to dissect at the line of scrimmage for a rookie quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it was last spring when Kirk was here and was asked about that very thing. It's like, hey, this don't look like Donatel's defense now, Kirk. This is doing a ton of different things. And as I recall, O'Connell and Kirk were not like angry, but they were frustrated by the fact that this defense was like so tough. But I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I mean, hell, it's great for Darnold too. It's great for both of them. But yeah, I don't think Flo is overly concerned about your feelings as far as how does the offense feel. I think he's like, no, I'm preparing my guys. He's basically head coach of defense, right? So yes, I think that JJ McCarthy is in for a lot. I think when training camp arrives, it's going to be especially an eye-opener about what he's going to see, because he's going to see things, quite frankly, that he never probably came close to seeing in Big Ten games.
Yeah. And so all of that, the speed, you're going to be asked to throw the ball more frequently than you did at Michigan. These are all things that people are keeping an eye on. One more thing on Josh McCown that I found really interesting. So he made a comment at some point during his press conference that I've changed offenses every year of my football life. And I thought, well, that's got to be a little bit of an exaggeration, right? So I went back through his entire career this morning. This is crazy. Josh McCown entered the NFL in 2002. If you include his playing days and his coaching days, which is the last few years, Only once did he have the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back seasons, going back to 2002.
Wow.
And it was in Carolina, I believe, when Jake Delhomme was the starting quarterback in like the late 2000s.
So he really did change it almost every year.
So yeah, he literally had a new offensive coordinator every year for over 20 years as a player, and then as a coach, the 1 year in Carolina, followed by now the year here. So he talked a lot about, I have a lot of experience in having to retain a new playbook, a new system, new terminology, and also work with new teammates and figure out the timing every single year, and how to download information the right way to your brain. And he goes, I am uniquely positioned. I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I'm essentially uniquely positioned to teach JJ McCarthy how to go through this process.
Really interesting. Yeah. And look, I think from just a starting point too, what you brought up, which was the work he did with Darnold. And I know it didn't work out, but I mean, just the fact that he was there and saw what went right, what went wrong. And you know what? That time with the Jets now in retrospect probably helps, because that's like everything you don't want from a coaching standpoint, right? Like that's everything that went wrong, which was, and we don't know. Darnold might have been a flop regardless, but this is a really good place to start from, about when you saw everything that was probably screwed up, and that kid was thrown into the fire basically immediately and was a colossal failure. And yes, some of that is on him, but as we've discussed previously, a lot of that also is on a franchise that absolutely has put together a playbook of how not to do things with young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys, those coaches that worked with Sam Darnold the first 2 years with the Jets, I think it's very telling that most of them, the high-profile ones, like the head coach, coordinators, that they did not get jobs again. That they 5 years later are like, one of them is like his offensive coordinator from year 2 is like a college tight ends coach now, and Adam Gase was the head coach. Was it Jeremy Bates?
Yeah, so it was Jim Bates' kid, and Jim was the DC in Green Bay way back when that team was good. But yeah, Jeremy Bates was a disaster. And yeah, Gase. Well, and Gase is a problem too, because he's a guy who got credit for his work in Denver with Peyton Manning.
Yeah, and we all know, even at the time, we knew how involved Peyton Manning was in the preparation, in the calls at the line of scrimmage. If you are Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator, you are literally handing him a golf club that he asks for out of the bag.
Correct.
You're not like going through the book and saying, okay, now young golfer, here's the yardage, here's the wind, you're going to want to be aware of this, here's what the leaderboard looks like, and I think you should use this club. No, correct. Peyton Manning says, stand there, keep your mouth shut, and hand me the club that I ask for, and make sure it's clean.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and in Peyton's case, he was his own, by the end, at least with the Colts for sure, and in Denver, he was his own OC. So like this whole Gase thing of, well, he had valuable experience. No, he didn't.
Yeah. He had valuable experience watching one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. It doesn't mean he can like turn the next guy into Peyton Manning.
Season tickets.
Yes, just like all
Phil
of us.
Mackey could have been the OC for Peyton at the end.
Yeah. So all of this is a way of saying Sam Darnold got royally screwed by infrastructure the first couple years in the league. Is it too late for him now that does he have too much to unwire? Is he broken? We're about to find out. There's been some pretty good reviews of him. Just like I saw Alec Lewis tweeted some praise from Jordan Addison talking about Sam Darnold. So we'll keep an eye on that. You'll be at practice next week. I might even join you for minicamp.
We might see JJ. Who knows?
Yep, maybe we see
Justin
a contract.
Jefferson might be there. Well, a new contract, or he might show up not to get fined. And then my question is, does he practice?
Yeah. Or is he just standing off to the side with an ear infection or something?
If he doesn't practice, by the way, just to state my case here, I don't blame him one bit.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think I would step on the field again until my contract is done.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Now, I do want him to start working at some point with
agreed.
The new quarterbacks, but get that contract figured out. Okay, we have a few other notes to get to, including a soundbite that you'll find interesting after we shout out our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. Look at this. You like my Federated hat here today? Huh?
Oh, where's mine?
Yeah.
Did I get one?
They only gave me one.
Did I get one? And then you.
Oh,
gave
actually, they
that
gave me
to-
two. I gave the other one to Kyle Teige. Yeah,
Or-
sorry.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people you
Gave
could
it
give
to Thor.
I mean, yeah, you gave it to Thor. You gave it to AJ. All my hats are gone.
As a business owner, which there are many of you that consume Purple Daily, and we appreciate you, do you have a game plan in place to stay focused on safety and preventing claims? You can let the team at Federated help support your business. Federated Insurance offers you a customizable lineup of industry-specific coverages and risk management services to help you continue your winning streak. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours. You can find out more at federatedinsurance.com. Also, a shout out to our friends over at Bachman's. 7 locations in the Twin Cities: Minneapolis, Apple Valley, Eden Prairie, Plymouth, Fridley, Maplewood, and Cedar Acres, Lakeville. So my wife and I were at Bachman's off 55 a few days ago, just looking for some things for our little patio. Actually, we wound up getting some flowers and a couple other trinkets in their gift shop for our neighbor who was celebrating a birthday. But if you're looking, you might think Bachman's flowers. Okay, that's great. Yes, obviously they have many different types of flowers, but Bachman's is a place where you can clean up and transform your landscape into an oasis for the rest of the season. Think about hosting friends and family, just outdoor value even for your home and enjoyment. Bachman's is here to help you transform your landscape into that oasis. Right now, 15% off pallets of mulch and easy delivery to your home. They also are offering discounts on tree pots. So check them out. Bachman's, one of the 7 different metro locations.
You know when your neighbors' birthdays are?
I do, yeah. So we're good friends with our neighbors.
That's great. That's great.
Do you know when any of your friends' birthdays are?
Yours is in May because you were born the same day that Dawn graduated high school.
Okay, that's right.
My other buddy is in May. I don't know the dates though. I don't know the dates. And I would say neighbors wise, I think I know like one name. I know the name of the guy across the street. I don't know the names of the people.
Oh, so you don't even know your neighbors' names?
Much less their birthdays. Yeah, I don't
Are
know.
these like new neighbors, or
Well,
how long have you?
Well, the house, if you stand in front of my house, the house to the right is a single woman who moved in. And I did know the name of the person that lived there previously. The house to the left is a couple that's been there for probably 2.5 years now. I don't know their names. I do know Keith across the street. I think that's
Keith,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
guy.
I think that's the only name, but I wouldn't know their birthdays, anything about that.
No. Well, hey, Purple Daily family, be sure to mark November 13th on your calendar and wish Judd, the sports dad, a happy birthday.
It's okay if you don't too, by the way. I won't be hurt.
Okay, going through the rest of our camp notes here, OTA notes, practice notes, OTAs. I don't know why we call them OTAs. But Christian Darrisaw was asked about Dallas Turner, the Vikings' first-round edge rusher from Alabama. I'm going to play you a clip. This is our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson, sticking a camera in Christian Darrisaw's face after practice yesterday.
I think Dallas is going to be special. In Gennard, man, just watching him throughout the year. Last year, he had an outstanding year, and then 1-5, getting him kind of excited just to see that draft pick go across the board. It's definitely going to help us. He's going to be a solid player for sure, but yeah, we got 2 good ones. But definitely his explosiveness. He has that burst. He's quick. He had a spin move maybe last week. It was quicker than the Nails. I was like, damn, like this guy's gonna be special.
Quicker than the Nails?
Quicker than the Nails, man. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
For sure, that spin move you mentioned, he put that on you, or did you see him put it on somebody else?
Yeah, I seen him put it on someone else. I was like, holy, it was one of those. Like, yeah, for sure. It was definitely a quick one.
How about that?
Normalizing the F-bomb. That's what we're doing here.
Anthony Edwards, everybody. Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, now Darrisaw. You know what? And it's not mean-spirited.
Is society getting too casual? Up next on Purple Daily.
I think a properly used F-bomb, like in that context, or like Ant, I think it's hilarious.
I'm fine. Listen, I don't know that I need it every other word at these press conferences.
I agree.
But for some emphasis, you know.
Like, holy F, man. It's funny, but I'm buying what he is selling, and I've told you this. I think, and this is not a hot take, I think that the biggest immediate impact from the 2024 draft is going to be Dallas Turner. I mean, JJ McCarthy's going to take some time. That's to be expected. I got no problem with that. That's not a panic thing. But, there is no reason why Dallas Turner can't step in a versatile role and play an immediate big role in what, and like you think about his size, because again, he's not the biggest guy. Like he's got moves and he's going to grow more as far as put on weight. But when you look at that guy and you look at what B-Flow, our guy, likes to do, right? He likes versatility. He likes speed. I think Dallas Turner, I think we should not be surprised if he has an immediate impact. And I also think that we should not be surprised if he is in the running for the defensive rookie of the year when you consider how he fell in a draft where offensive players, through like the first 20 picks were they dominated that draft. So I am buying what Darrisaw is selling as far as optimism.
I also feel like you don't need a ton of time to figure out if an edge rusher can play in the NFL. There's some positions, quarterback, where circumstances might it's a hard position and circumstances are gonna maybe just dictate that you don't break out until your second or third year or whatever. Wide receiver, sometimes just with the route tree that you have to and the chemistry with the quarterback, everything, second, third year breakout. Edge rushers, playing time is usually the only thing that really stands in their way because there's some technique things, but if you're getting drafted high up in the first round, your technique is probably sound enough to make some hay in your first year. So we'll find out. I don't think he's going to be a 1,000 snap guy in his first full season, but we're going to know pretty early on Dallas Turner. And the fact that guys like Christian Darrisaw are saying, wow, I've watched him for like 3 practices and he looks ridiculous. Really interesting.
Yes. And the one thing on the snap prediction to keep an eye on too is Van Ginkel hurt his foot with the Dolphins at the end of last year. I think he missed the Chiefs playoff game and he is still not back. Like he has been at the OTA that I attended last week. He was present, but didn't practice. Feet can be a real weird thing as far as timing. So the one thing is if that foot continues to bug him, Dallas Turner snaps will definitely go up. If it doesn't, what I am curious to see is how he's used. Because I do think that there's creative ways. And like Flores put on a tutorial last year in being, if you're smart enough to do it, that's the key thing. If you're smart enough to play his system, Flores will put on a tutorial about how he will use you. But I do think that there could be some fluctuation in Turner's play depending on Van Ginkel's foot. If he is slowed, I would not be surprised if he is slowed at least a little bit or eased in to start the season.
Yeah. Okay, the next item, the cornerback battle took just an interesting turn, I guess, yesterday, and this might just be by design, but according to The Athletic, Caleb Evans played outside cornerback for most of last week's OTA practice that the media was able to watch.
Yep.
There's been other OTA practices that are closed to the media, so we don't know. But then second-year corner Mekhi Blackmon garnered most of the snaps yesterday. So last week, from what the media could watch, Caleb Evans was running with the ones, and then this week it's Mekhi Blackmon. So that feels like Shaq is slated as a starter. Byron Murphy as a starter in the slot, and then it's a battle between Caleb Evans and Mekhi Blackmon for the other outside corner spot.
Yes, yeah, and I think so. My guess is this: I think Blackmon has the edge because he's the guy that they drafted a year ago with Flores here. Evans, I think they like. I think they're concerned though because he really at times struggled in 2023. To me, this is more telling about, and I talked about this when I went to practice last week, just how far down and buried on the depth chart Andrew Booth is.
Yeah.
He and Scene were basically working together at that practice with the second or with the third team at times.
Yikes.
So like, I think Blackmon and Evans, I think, are on very solid ground to make the 53 and to battle for that spot. And my guess is that this is very orchestrated, That it's not like, oh my God, the guy struggled, so let's replace him with this guy. That they actually are trying to get them both reps. So I think the really interesting thing, and as far as getting to training camp and roster watch, is again Booth, and then to a certain degree as well, Scene just making the roster.
Yep. Well, think about like Theo Jackson's likely to make the roster over Lewis Scene if there's
he's going
crunch
to.
there, right? So,
I think he's damn near a lock.
And so it's kind of, then it comes down to, because I think they trust Theo Jackson to actually play in the defense more. So then it comes down to maybe there's 2 or 3 spots for guys that are more special teams oriented. Well, Lewis Scene hasn't been a special teams ace either.
Correct.
So just back to Blackman for a second. So as a rookie last year, opposing quarterbacks had an 87.8 passer rating when targeting him, which is very good for Mekhi Blackman. That's basically what Gardner Minshew's passer rating was. And Minshew's fine, but to hold all opposing quarterbacks that he faced to a Gardner Minshew-like passer rating as a rookie, pretty awesome. And then my favorite Mekhi Blackman stat, he had 0 missed tackles in 2023 as a rookie.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Oh, that's fantastic. The one thing, and we've talked about this a bunch before, the one thing that I always thought Trey Waynes got a bad rap because he was not the most shut down corner. But what did he do well? You didn't get yak. Didn't get yak.
Exactly. He shut you down.
And he was good at that. So, yes, I think that's huge as far as the competition goes. I would say personally, coming out of last year, if I was asked to handicap this, I think there's a better chance right now that Blackman starts week 1. I think I think they really liked him.
So Blackman, Shaq, and Byron Murphy Jr.
Yes,
Those are your
And then Evans could certainly be the first guy up if there's a change there. But that's why I think there's a fighting chance that Booth might not make the roster. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah. And then my final thing for you here, these camp notes, Vikings OTA camp notes. 7th round defensive tackle Levi Drake Rodriguez is someone to keep an eye on. So I'm going to give you some anecdotes from The Athletic here. So Alec Lewis, the Vikings beat writer, he wrote, one of the most interesting Vikings prospects this summer is Levi Drake Rodriguez, the 7th round pick from Texas A&M Commerce. And then he pointed to an article from The Athletic that was a national profile from a month ago, calling him Prospect X. So they did this feature piece before the draft called Prospect X.
Yes.
And they were like at his home, and they didn't say who it was, or they only gave you specific details about his process on draft night. And then they unveiled that Prospect X was Levi Drake Rodriguez after the draft was over. So some really interesting stuff here. Rodriguez arrives early at the facility every morning in the pitch black hours of the morning before Viking staffers get there these last few weeks. He bounces around constantly during drills. He's a ball of energy who the defensive line coach, Marcus Dixon, said Wednesday, quote, is going to be awesome. I think the future is bright for him. Looking at his tape during the pre-draft process, Vikings executive Ryan Gregson said, quote, it didn't matter which game you threw on. The guy played with violence. He played with twitch.
Football.
God, I love Twitch.
When Rodriguez visited the Vikings in early April, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah said, quote, he caught fire in this building, just a positive force of energy. He also was doing pass rush moves in the hallway of the Vikings facility.
We had to douse him. We had to get the fire extinguisher and put him out.
So they got this dude. He's a 7th rounder who played at Texas A&M Commerce, and one of the main scout, that like the area scout, the Southwest area scout for the Vikings. He was interviewed for this national profile, and he talked about how you're even hesitant to bring a guy who goes to a school like that to the front office because your credibility could be shot if you're wrong.
Yes.
Why are you wasting our time on guys from Texas A&M Commerce? But they started doing some work on him. And then they showed up at like his pro day or whatever it was, and they were kind of pissed that 13 other teams also showed up.
Yeah.
It's so hard to keep guys like this on the down low because everyone's got scouts all over the place. But
Yes.
that's a guy to keep. Levi Drake Rodriguez, 6'4". He's up to like, he played at 280, 285 in college. He's up to like 305 now going into his first NFL year.
Yep.
Interesting.
Sounds like a practice squad guy, but I will say this. That school is so small. I watched some film. Dude was playing in a stadium in which you could see the cars behind a chain link fence parked in the parking lot.
That's hilarious.
So like it went end zone, chain link fence,
Yeah.
cars. Like there's high schools where you can't see cars.
Wow, man. Yeah.
Like that's how small this was. But yeah, I mean, he sounds like a practice squad guy, but we know by now, like you can find guys.
Yeah. Well,
Certainly not unprecedented.
one of the greatest Vikings defensive tackles of all time, John Randall, was an undrafted free agent. Adam Thielen
exactly.
was an undrafted free agent. So
Yeah.
the franchise has found them before. I don't think we should be putting John Randall level of pressure on this kid, but if he were to have a good training camp and make the practice squad as a 7th rounder out of Texas A&M Commerce, that'd be a great step in the right direction.
Exactly right. Back to cornerback for a second, because I've got a potential as far as the depth chart goes and the competition goes. One guy I'm really curious about, and I think he again fits the B flow thing perfectly, is this year's 4th round pick, Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon. He's 6'4". And I don't know where this is going to go, but first of all, a 4th round pick is a pretty good investment. And second of all, I think he's got the size and length that they desire.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's going to be, as far as the young guys go, I wonder if it's going to be Blackman, Evans, Kyrie Jackson, and then Booth.
I think you're right.
It feels
So
like
that's
Jackson's
that's
going to have
5 cornerbacks ahead of Andrew Booth Jr.
Yes. And it feels like Jackson's going to have a real chance because of his body to get into the system quickly. So again, if you think I'm being a little bit negative about Booth, it's because I think the numbers in front of him have become very difficult. And again, he's not their guy.
And also, you're not drafting Kyrie Jackson that high relative to your stash of draft capital.
Correct.
If you love a Caleb Evans and Andrew Booth Jr., right?
Correct.
Because those aren't, well, Booth is their guy because Kwesi drafted him, but Booth isn't Flores's guy because Flores didn't.
And
get
that's
here.
what I'm thinking.
Mekhi Blackman is Flores's guy. Kyrie Jackson is Flores's guy.
Yeah, and Flores has a type. Like there's no question.
Do you think there's a chance Kyrie Jackson could win a starting job before the bye week or have a great? He's like 24. He's not.
It's an interesting question.
You're a classic 21-year-old that needs to be.
I don't think so. But if you say bye week, I wouldn't dismiss it.
A couple guys struggle.
I do think the size and the ability, if he is willing to play, especially in press, if he is willing to jam guys, because at 6'4", you got the arm length too. Yes, I think that there's a chance. I think Blackman is good though. I will say that. I really liked him. And the stat that you gave about tackling, because you're going to get beat, right? Like you're going against receivers that are incredible.
Limit the yak.
Exactly. What you can't do is get beat and then have the guy go 15 to 20 more yards. But the Kyrie Jackson thing to me does throw a definite fly in the ointment of where this might be going for some guys.
Yeah. So just an interesting position group to keep an eye on. A shout out to our friends at Dennis Kirk. Go to DennisKirk.com to check out over 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories. It's riding season out there, folks. Charles Barkley, it's not snowing here. It's riding season.
Where did that come from? Just quickly, I'm sorry.
So there's just been a lot of
I watched the game, but I
pollen
didn't
or
have the sound
cotton floating in the air, and there was a Target Field video that showed like pollen and cotton flying through the air.
That's how we roll.
And it looked like it was snowing, but
okay.
so like I think John Boy posted it saying it's snowing in late May, and people just didn't know that it wasn't snow.
Okay.
It's riding season. Dennis Kirk is here. They can confirm that it's riding season. They offer same-day shipping. They also offer free shipping on orders over $89, a ride finder tool, parts and accessories for pretty much anything that you ride at DennisKirk.com. That's DennisKirk.com. And our friends at Red Cow make some of the greatest food in the Twin Cities. Red Cow, established in 2013, 6 locations in Minnesota, 5 in the Twin Cities, 1 in Rochester. In fact, keep an eye out for the second episode of Purple Over Beers from Red Cow.
For me eating.
Here in the couple. Yeah, it's just us stuffing our faces
I'm just going to
with
be eating.
a double
I think the
barrel
Vikings
burger,
are going to be great.
cheese curds, talking about Vikings history.
Oh, my God.
But some of the best foods you're going to find, 36 beers on tap, craft cocktails, and great TV viewing when you belly up to the bar area. I personally love the North Loop location. You can find me once in a while at that Red Cow. But check them out, Red Cow. We thank them
Got the
for
Uptown one,
supporting us.
too.
The Uptown ones where we did
Little
Purple
parking
Over
lot
Beers.
as well. I love the parking lot.
Parking lot's clutch in Uptown.
There's no questions.
The construction's kind of a disaster, but it's easy to just sneak right in there to
get
that
right
parking
in.
lot. Yeah. So, we'll have a Feedback Friday episode tomorrow. Thank you guys for sending us a million snake draft suggestions. We're going to choose one, and we're going to start mixing in random snake drafts during the Feedback Friday shows because people are sending in some hilarious stuff. And then next week, we've got the mandatory mini camp to start early June. We'll see if Justin Jefferson has a contract by then, if he shows up. The sports dad will be on the ground. I might even make an appearance at practice
forget-
next week.
Justin is supposed to not just get a contract, but then a month of celebration as well. According to Quasey, he's going to get a month.
Well, this would fit. Like you get
June.
wait till you might have to wait 2 more weeks for the Wolves to be done playing in the playoffs because they're going to, win game 5, game 6, game 7, then play in the NBA Finals.
Greatest comeback of all time.
And then you can maybe mid-June you can get that contract done. We'll see. By the way, for those of you who are also Wolves fans, you can find Judd and me at Target Center after Game 5 tonight on the Score North YouTube channel for a live Flagrant Howls. So check us out on one of our other YouTube channels, the Score North YouTube channel, and Flagrant Howls podcast feed, Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. All right, welcome back, Sports Dad.
Thank you.
Back in the mix. It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
And we will see you guys next time on Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
Amen.